And yet again, guys, we were spot on. We had the 535 structure ABC correction as I talked about from our previous TA video. While everybody is screaming about the Adam Eve pattern, we were far ahead from the herd. We were already from our previous TA talking about the 535 structure and the correction afterwards with this rising trend correction. And just to show you guys, there's no BS with my TA. Pay attention to what I say and pay attention to the date of the TA I made. Same pattern as I do. And if you mention a rising wedge, that is correct. A rising wedge is actually a bearish formation. So we pretty much have a resistance and a support area, which is saying that prices goes up. But actually this is just a rising trend correction, which call this pattern. So once this pattern hit the resistance area, it would go down and test the support area, break down, retest it, and go all the way to around 17k area to test these levels. In the weekly chart, we are still within this idiot wave from a previous TA. However, I do believe the wave 3 can go lower to 1618 fib level. A lot of people will have no idea what's coming to them. Once this fake rally comes, a lot of bullish influencers will come from the cave, say, did you buy the dip? Did you buy the dip? But the reality is, most of them have no idea how TA works. It's a probability game, nothing more. We have a huge resistance area at 29 to 13k and even 24. So if we even get a bullish momentum to the upside, do not surpass this level over 30 to 32k, you will go back to the deep abyss. Onchain Data is showing us right now the long-term and short-term hodlers are getting capitulated. This means the whales are actually buying the cheap Bitcoin. If you look at this picture and this Onchain Data I post on Twitter, you guys can follow me, or in Discord, you guys can see that it happened twice in 2020. We see that long-term holders actually capitulated. This means they sold a Bitcoin cheaper for what they bought it for. So they're in a loss. If we see it right here, it happens again. Meanwhile, the long-term and short-term holders are getting thinner. In Bitcoin, the whales ratio is increasing and they're getting a lot fatter. But do not get fooled, guys. If you look at the bookmap, we can see that this is nothing more than manipulation. We can see liquidity pool, a live liquidity pool right at the bookmap. If you look at here, we can actually see that liquidity, aka the money, is getting allocated to 15k. What does that indicate? I will explain this later in the video, so watch the whole thing, guys. Not only are the long-term and short-term holders capitulating, but we are also seeing on on-chain data that miners are now selling their Bitcoin on a loss and capitulating. This will have a huge impact on the price of Bitcoin because they have a lot of Bitcoin. Meanwhile, the hero of Bitcoin, the leader of Bitcoin, the CEO of Bitcoin is still buying Bitcoin. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Michael Saylor. He bought 10 million worth of Bitcoin. US SEC denies Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF application. What a surprise. However, Grayscale won't give up that easy. Grayscale Investment has initiated a lawsuit against the US SEC after their spot Bitcoin ETF was rejected. Go Grayscale, go. The CEO from FTX is going on a buying spree and buying BlockFi, buying all kind of company which is getting close to margin call. However, they are not buying Celsius. They're actually passing on Celsius because of the 2 billion hole in balance sheet. I cannot emphasize enough, like I spoke about in my previous TA and my video, guys, how important that is that Celsius don't get liquidated. If they got liquidated, that will be extremely bad and we will see a crash we never seen before. Welcome guys. Welcome to Daily Crypto Trading. This setup from my previous TA was spot on. It was on the penny. It was a 535 structure, retested the support and went down with an ABC correction. And usually after the wave C, we see a bounce up and a new idiot wave for 1 to 5 count. Now, however, there is a probability we get rejected at these levels before we do a new 535 structure, but just on the downside instead. Now, let me explain. If we take a trend-based fib extension from the bottom to the top all the way to the last button right here, we can actually see how perfectly our fib level is aligned with the VPVR, which is the resistance area right there at the golden ratio 0.65 at the 20,400 level, price level. That area is heavily volatile and there's a lot of resistance. If we do not surpass that area, we will get rejected with an ABC correction and go down. And let me just show you what I mean about the ABC correction. So we will have something like this, right? And then we will get rejected with the ABC and then we will go down again, guys. All right, just be aware of that. This is actually a high probability trade. If you guys guys want to enter something like a trade or something like that, just be careful, have risk management, have stop loss ready. Again, this is not financial advice, but I am seeing this as a high probability trade. But as a trader, we need to look at every angle, all right? So on the bullish side, if we get some kind of momentum, some kind of a volume, right? If the volume is increasing suddenly because the whales are again manipulating, we need to see where we might go, and we can actually use the Elliott wave, all right? So we have account 1 and 2, and usually the count 3 is around 1618 or 1236, all right? Let's just be conservative and say 1236, all right? So 21,000 to 22,000, all right, this area. Then we will go down around this level, fib level 1786, and remember, we cannot close below wave 1, all right, because then this get invalidated, and the wave 5 is usually around the same size as wave 1, which is around this area at the fib level 1618 or close to 200% fib level, guys. This is also a possibility, but this include that we need to surpass this big resistance level in the forward chart. Remember, guys, this is the short-term trading, so if we do not get rejected, we can use this resistance as support, which is the wave 4 all the way to wave 5, and usually after that we will see some kind of ABC correction, and then we will have this support before we maybe see a 535 structure. This is a possibility, but for this to happen, we need volume, guys. This is so important. We need volume. If there's no volume, there will not be there will not be any trades. Also, if you look at the RSI in the short term, we're still below 50. If you've been long-term subscriber to my channel, you know if you're below 50, that means we are downtrend. If we are above 50, there's an uptrend. So if we go to wave 3, wave 4, that's pretty much a confirmation. We hold it as a support, then we know we are going to wave 5 before we get rejected. The RSI might show us that we are above 50, which means we are going to the wave 5, all right? Just be aware of that. And taking a look at the RSI stock, we can see we're at an oversold area. Now, the important thing is the price action needs to consolidate so the RSI stock can come down to the oversold area, all right? It's really important because we are overbought. Sorry, before we are overbought, not oversold, we are overbought, because when we are overbought, usually that indicates we are going lower down. And if this wave 2 is going below wave 1, this pretty much, and close down, this pretty much get invalidated, because this cannot happen in the Elliott wave, all right? Really important to understand. So it's important that we consolidate the prices. In consolidating, the overbought area is going to the oversold area. That indicate and confirms a higher probability that we might go to wave 3, all right? We just need volume to make this happen and increase. And again, if you look at the short-term MACD price action, we can actually see that the MAC line and the signal line is crossing, it's almost hissing. Now this is important. The momentum is going to the upside, right? The buyers are trying to step in, but if this keeps staying down, this get pretty much invalidated, because the probability is pretty much changing for a downside more than upside. But again, this can take time, right? We in the forward chart, every 4 hours there will be a candlestick, so it can take time because there's big buyers and big sellers fighting each other at the moment, all right? So this can take time, but if they are crossing, all right, if they're crossing like this, let me show you. If the MACD is crossing with the signal line, that usually indicate that we are going up, all right? So it will be something like this, and then we will see a momentum switch. And once this happens, we have a confirmation for Elliott wave pretty much. And if we take a look at the weekly chart instead, we can clearly see we're in a correction movement from the Elliott wave. We have the wave 1, 2, which is the impulsive, and all the way correction wave 3. Now the question are at the moment, are we done with wave 3? And then honestly depend on the whales, which I will show you in on-chain data later on, because if the whales, take their Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin to exchange, and they can easily manipulate the price, meaning they can go to exchanges, to the spot exchange, that I'll show you later on, and then make what we call a supply shock, which they will flow with supply. So the supply is greater than demand, that the liquidity is getting thin, and if the liquidity is getting thin, we see a supply shock and the price can surge to the downside. So they have buy orders ready, same time buy orders ready at these levels, all right? So they will buy cheap Bitcoin pretty much, and the price we can see could be at the fib level 1618, which is $1,400 per Bitcoin. That is pretty cheap for a Bitcoin for the moment, but remember, guys, this is no guarantee or certainty. This is only based on probability. Once we define where wave 3 is, where the corrective wave 3 is, either at this fib level or this, we can now focus on wave 4, and this will be what we call dead cat bounce, all right? The fake rally which will come, which will take a lot of people off guard, a lot of people which is not in trading off guard too, which means, remember guys, it's based on the weekly, which means that we will see some kind of waves, fake waves all right here, and maybe even get rejected over here before we go down, because I'm not sure where the wave 4 will end. Or we can see it to the golden ratio area at 0.65 at price level at 29,000, close to 30,000, even 32,000 before we get rejected right over here at the golden fib ratio, they will take a lot of people off guard, and then we will continue to go down to back to the deep abyss. But just remember, this is a probability, no guarantee, guys. All right. But however, to back this TA on, we can actually see in the weekly chart we are in the oversold territory for the RSI and the RSI stock. All right. And if you look at the MACD, we can see we are again far from each other, which means we're still in downtrend, which indicate that once we have this, oversold area and we go move to the upside again, we will see a lot of people getting FOMO back again, right? Oh my God, Bitcoin is back, the bull market is back. Wait and see, the sentiment will change in a second. All right, a lot of people will just change the sentiment from fear to greed. This happens every single time. All right, every single time. And again, we will see something that we can even be here for some weeks, right? We do not know when wave 4 will be. I don't have a time for it. But once it reverses, we will see some kind of like that. Either can get it oversold as overbought area or at 50. All right, once it hit 50, which is a higher probability, once it hit 50 at RSI and overbought area at the RSI stock, it will pretty much tank back again, guys. This trade is a high probability trade, no guarantee, because there can be some big buyers suddenly buying Bitcoin and then we can see Bitcoin move to the upside again. I don't think that will happen. It's unlikely that will happen. There's of course no guarantee, because as a trader we look at every angle, but I do believe once this sentiment change, once people get FOMO back in, the golden ratio will take a lot of people off guard again. We will have some kind of thump, and this can take weeks, and then we will go back down again. And pay attention, guys, this also aligns with the bookmap I posted, the Onchain Data I posted 2 days ago when the price was 20,000. all right, I posted as there was thin liquidity. Liquidity just means money. There was thin money around this area, and lo and behold, it dropped down where the money was around 18k, all right, and it held it and went back up again, and now we see the 20k is being some kind of resistance instead. And then I showed that the buyers were stepping in at 16k and heavy at 15k. all right, this also perfectly aligned with our TA as I was showing you guys before. So that was a few days ago. So let's also check live data from the bookmap where the liquidity is, and lo and behold, it has not changed for 15k. It's actually been even stronger. People or whales are putting more money at 15k area, and surprise enough, we actually also, what I have noticed, being built at 10k. all right, now 9k, but 10k have been here for a week or something like that. It suddenly just jumped on. Now I'm not trying to scare you guys, I'm just trying to put awareness at this area, because 10k is actually also being built strong. And again, guys, this is nothing more than manipulation from the whales, because 3 days ago I showed you the world alert. all right, more than, I believe, is a 30 to 35k Bitcoin from spot exchanges was moved around, guys. So there's nothing more than whales who are trying to manipulate the price for cheaper Bitcoins. Do not fall for these kind of games. And the on-chain data which I posted, guys, we can see the long-term holders are capitulating on a loss. all right, this is the second time in 2 years, but this time is even worse. If you look at 2020, the ratio was below 1, and when the EMA, the ratio is below 1, it just showed they're actually selling the Bitcoin on a cheaper price, on a discount. So they're actually losing money. So they might bought Bitcoin in a higher price and they're still selling it at lower price. And normally long-term holders just hold, but because of panic, they sold a Bitcoin on a cheaper price. Before we saw this huge, this was at the Black Swan event at the pandemic, before we see this huge upside. all right, and then now they're doing exactly the same thing. all right, however, this time it is even worse. Now the important thing is we can see in on-chain data that they're selling on a loss. Remember, guys, this is facts, this is not probability. We can see that they're selling the Bitcoins on-chain data to whales, right? The whales is getting fatter right now. They're getting cheaper Bitcoin right now. This is nothing more than manipulation, and we are seeing right now the long term is getting capitulated. all right, normally when we see that the long term and short term holders get capitulated, we actually also see some kind of price surge, because then the whales will try to manipulate the price for the upside. And if you look at this chart, which is the short-term holders, we are actually seeing that in Black Swan event, they actually capitulated 2 times. You guys see that was pretty heavy, because short-term holders are more emotionally. We also see at the top, they were really afraid and just sold, right? But this was on a profit to we get at the mid-May, I believe, where we saw the crash again. A lot of short-term holders who bought at, 35k or 40k just dropped dropped down under 30k, right? Sold on a panic, so they capitulated. The whales got fed up buying cheap Bitcoin, and then now we at the second time we're seeing short-term holders capitulating. But this time we actually show that at this area ratio below 1, the short-term holders actually not been that profitable. They've pretty much been sold that Bitcoin on a loss. All right, and we're also seeing, let me show this instead, we're also seeing that the whale ratio on the spot exchange is increasing. Now that can mean two things. It can mean they're buying Bitcoin at a cheaper price, after that they're moving it up, or they're manipulating the price, right? So we're seeing at the moment an increase suddenly where the price drops, surprise, and then the price go up, and then the decreasing, which means outflow whale ratio, because they are sending the Bitcoin away. So they're doing two things. They are pretty much manipulating the price and buying cheap Bitcoin. This is clear indicator. This is facts. This is not probability. This is facts. We are seeing the whales getting fed up. We can see top 10 whales are getting more Bitcoin. We can see they're buying at cheaper price. We can see the short-term and long-term holders are capitulating, guys. They're selling their Bitcoin on a loss and selling cheap Bitcoin for these whales. And not only that, guys, we are also seeing that the miners are capitulating. They are now selling their Bitcoin on a loss to the whales. Surprise, surprise. And we can even see that the miners reserves, which means the miners Bitcoin on spot, are getting decreased. Usually that means they're sending their Bitcoin to exchange to sell their Bitcoin, because they have to get the operation on flow, right? They have to have money to maintain all this, pay people, pay the service, pay energy and all these kind of things, right? But they're selling their Bitcoin on a loss, all right? And we can see as soon as the miners sold a lot of the Bitcoins, surprise, surprise, the Bitcoin price dropped as well. Therefore, this data is important to understand, guys. Do not get fooled. Do not get emotionally. At the moment, there's nothing more than whale manipulating the price. Get cheaper Bitcoin from the miners, short-term holders, and the long-term holder, guys. It's nothing more than that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this TA of Bitcoin, on the left corner, I'll be recommending video for more TA. Otherwise, we have a free Discord server you guys can join. So guys, see you on the Discord server.